going to call our regular technology committee meeting to order. Thanks everybody for coming. I'd like to start with roll call.
Okay, Berlin.
Here.
Cahill. Carrier.
Here.
Eckhoff.
Here.
Galassi.
Here.
Guston.
Here.
Henry.
Here.
Kazmarek.
Here.
Mendrick. Rutledge. White.
Here.
And you.
Here. And I've been advised that we do not have any public comment. So with regard to Chairwoman's remarks, I just want to mention that at our next technology meeting, which will be August 15, that we will present our tech budget at that time. All right, so moving on to the approval of minutes. Item 2387. I have a motion to approve the minutes from the technology committee meeting from Tuesday, July 11, 2023. So moved. Second. Okay, thank you. So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or changes to those minutes? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. That has been approved. Thank you. So the procurement requisitions, we have item 6A. Can I get a motion for 23-2500, which is a recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to DLT Solutions LLC for the procurement of BidSite software for IT for the period of September 1, 2023 through August 31, 2024 for a total contract amount of $28,942.10. Thank you. I believe it was Treasurer Henry and Member Galassi with the second. Any discussion or questions about this item?
Madam Chair, if I may. So I just
Sure.
wanted to let the committee know that this is directly related to cybersecurity. It's another measure to keep our website safer and our web pages safer. Another big benefit from this is that at the very end of the month, this software gives us a score, a risk score. We can then give that risk score to our cyber liability insurance company, Beasley, so that it can help us keep our premiums down. So it has two benefits. It keeps us safe, and then hopefully it'll help keep our insurance down when we show that we're safe and protected.
So what's the range score? I mean,
that's a good question. I'm not sure.
is this also what we should expect it to achieve?
Yeah. So I'll find out and I'll follow up.
100%.
I know. We should be at
That's
100%.
almost, that's impossible. But, so you just like, yeah, it's important. So it may be from 1 to 10. I'll find out for sure. It will never be able to achieve the 100% 10, but as long as we're close 80 to 100%, we're in good shape. So
Thank you.
because it changes constantly.
Right. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item TEP 005823. I'm looking for a motion for recommendation for the approval of contract purchase order to Gartner Inc. for one subscription for Gartner for IT leaders and one subscription for CIOs for information technology. This contract covers the period of October 1, 2023 through September 30, 2024 for a contract total amount of $101,600. I did get a motion. Thank you, as well as a second. Any questions or discussion? Yes.
Sure.
In this contract, you specifically say that you and Wendy are the people that are named.
Correct.
With Wendy leaving, is it transferable? Because when I looked in the contract, in one spot it says no, and then in another spot
It
it
is,
says yes.
it's based on role. So that's why parentheses says we put CIO and deputy CIO.
Okay.
So it's based on the role.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you for that question.
yeah, it's a great question. And what this license, for those of you who don't know Gartner, it's a global organization that provides support and research information and advisory support to all IT organizations. So we don't have the ability to sit down and research all new technologies or even existing technologies. They do. And they're agnostic, so they don't support any one technology. They score good and bad based on performance. So we use them a lot. They also do contract reviews for us. They look at our RFP scopes, we write them, they'll review them and tell us if we're missing anything. So I think it's an extension of our organization, and it's a good value add. I can't quantify any of the cost savings, but I know it has been, because we have said, hey, we need to look at this and review it, or we need to renegotiate because Gardner says that we should be paying this amount for this particular technology. So that's what it does for us.
Yes.
I have a question. I don't know if it's better for you or better for Connor. Can you describe the process you go through to get a sole source letter approved?
So
IT is going to be different and unique. In this particular instance, Gartner is pretty much the only person in this space that provides these type of training services and banks. Sort of like, think of it like a Westlaw or a Lexis, although there's only the one in IT because competition in IT doesn't seem to happen quite as often.
I'm not questioning the legitimacy in this case. I'm just looking for an understanding of the process that you go through to decide that it's appropriate.
Well, I guess from a legal standpoint, we would review the actual facts of the case, determine if it's, for example, if it's a software company and there's only one person that can work on the software, otherwise the software breaks, that's obviously a sole source. And something like this, where there's only one group of people that offer this sort of service, then it would also similarly be a sole source, but it would be on the department to provide the information to us to make sure that it's checking all the boxes.
You know, and again, I'm not raising issues about this particular case, but all sole sources from county board departments run through the state's attorney before they're approved.
I don't know if all of them do, most of them do.
Okay, that's, I'm just looking for background. That's all. I
Or
have
at
no
least
questions about this.
it's a fair question.
At
So-
least at one point or another, they have. Oftentimes where you're looking at something, it's, for example, there's only one company. PSI is pretty much the only game in town for some stuff. I don't look at it every 2 years because we know that BSI is the only game in town.
And that's,
Yeah, and most of the sole source contracts associated with IT contracts are tied to maintenance and support. A lot of times we can't go, so for instance, I'll use Infor ERP software as an example. We can't go to another company for Infor support, so we have to sole source Infor to get that.
so it's licensed by Infor.
Yeah, IBM, some of the other organizations. So that's, majority of them, the sole sources are tied to that.
But if Infor were, for example, authorize multiple outside vendors to provide service, then that could be bid.
Then we wouldn't do sole source.
Okay.
We bid it out and we look for it.
At least among those qualified vendors.
Correct, amongst those qualified
You
vendors.
can't hire somebody that Infor won't work with.
Yeah. We believe, I personally believe in best of breed and finding the right company to support us. So
I'm just trying to gain my understanding of how behind the scenes the sole source letters, how they're developed.
Every department does it a little differently because what works in IT can be very different in, say, a finance perspective, or what we're
Or printing.
or printing, or tech, or even like acquiring equipment or architectural services, that sort of thing. Everyone thinks a little bit different.
There's exceptions for architectural services. So, okay, that's fine. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Phil. And also, I don't know if this was specifically stated, but Gartner actually helps us save a bunch of money for the county, correct?
they do, and I'll try to quantify it at some point, as I renegotiate based on their advice.
Thank you. All right, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. And then moving on to our last item, TEP 005923, which is I'd like a motion for recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to add Live Venture Solutions for the procurement of RAM for the VSAN for information technology for a contract total amount of $49,500 per lowest responsible bid. I heard a motion and I heard a second. Thank you. Any discussion with regard to this item? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very, very much. So is there any old business at this time?
Well, I'm
Yes.
wondering.
Member Hudson.
We kind of talked about, I think, at one of our other committee meetings, maybe not this one, about kind of a IT courtesy program where you kind of know what IT departments throughout the county campus are doing, so you're not duplicating efforts, and kind of having one, one folder or one department that all information goes into, just so, you're like guardian, right? And you can say, hey, to the sheriff's department, this is who we use, right? And they may be beneficial for what you do or who you use, or vice versa, or just to have that information available to not everyone, but to the departments, Because it seems like we've got our IT, they've got their IT, who's got their IT, and there's all this IT all over the place. And just trying to wonder if there's some way in which we can pass some type of policy where we get a buy-in on pretty much having, one area where the information can be put and kept.
Yeah, so a couple things. So, Madam Chair and I have had conversations about this for actually months. One of the things we're going to do to address that is she's working on a memo to go out to all board members and especially board members who chair committees to have them always submit their tech items to the tech committee as an information item so they were all on the same page. Number two, a lot of that happens behind the scenes already. So I have relationships with all of the tech people. I host a technology leadership roundtable every other month where we bring all of the tech people from all of the DuPage County organizations, whether it's a elected official office or department, together, and we talk about IT initiatives and purchases and projects. So we kind of stay on the same page there. We manage most of the big contracts. So all of the contracts that are commodity based, we manage, and they either piggyback off of, or if we don't have a direct contract with them, we work on helping them negotiate pricing and contract terms and all of those things. For elected officials, we cannot. There's no policy that I'm aware of, and I'll defer to the state's attorney, but there's no policy that says that we can implement a policy that applies to them. They are managed by a completely different body, but all elected official offices actually have a relationship with core IT. So we do have a relationship with them. We try to work with them on addressing those things, and we try to make sure that we're involved in any of their big initiatives. Small things we are not directly involved in, but if it's a big purchase or a big project, we're involved.
I think because if the committee is going to be effective, we should have information on really what's going on in other, not that we would, pick and choose or anything like that, but just having that information, that knowledge of what's how
And
to support the committee.
yeah, and in response, actually, there was the probation item that was on JPS's agenda this morning. This was actually sent through information technology. It was sent to me, so I was actually aware of it ahead of time, but I think in the future, we're going to try and incorporate those items on our agenda. It just didn't happen for this agenda in particular, but yes.
Yeah, and it did happen in the past, and I think just over time that stopped happening, but it's,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing it up. The chair actually brought it up to me a few months ago. She's working on a memo that will go out to everyone to reinforce it going forward. So
You had a question, remember?
Yeah, so I have a question, so are the department heads copied on these two, or just the IT people for each department? What I'm getting at is, for instance, there are little software licenses that I think would be very helpful to different employees, like Snagit is just something that I think a lot of employees should have. It's basically a clipping software. It made my life so much easier, and I didn't even know until I contacted IT that we can easily get a license. Or Monday.com, I think, is something that we have that I don't think most departments know how useful it could be. And if we have a license and we have any kind of training, it'd be nice to send employees to that training, but I don't know that they're aware that we have all these different licenses.
maybe that we could probably do a better job on the software side outside of enterprise contracts of sharing that information. We do keep track of it. We actually have a software that looks across our entire network, whether it's on the elected official side or our side, to see what's out there. And we look for trends so that we can negotiate and have conversations. So we do that behind the scenes, but I think we should probably be a little more visible with it and communicate to them that these things are out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thanks for that discussion. Anything else for old business? All right, moving on to new business. Is there any new business? Hearing none. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Well.